Welcome back to another video, everyone. Today I'll be giving my thoughts on the Kailh Box Creams switches and doing a sound comparison between these and some other linear switches so you can figure out which one might be best for you. I don't see a lot of videos out there talking about these switches or showing how they sound in a board, so I thought I'd make this to show you all a switch that's a little less mainstream than some of the other ones out there right now. We'll start from the outside and you'll immediately notice that these have a different stem than what we're used to on box switches. Traditionally, box switches have a square-shaped stem along with a clear top housing. These are a bit more similar to switches like the Box Silent Pink and Box Silent Browns, but just to clarify, these don't have any specific silencing mechanisms inside them. Even though the stem has a circular shape, it still helps to reduce stem wobble compared to traditional MX style switches. Following the lead of the cream switches that came out some time ago, these switches share the same build materials. The top housing, bottom housing, and stem are all made of palm, and the spring inside is made of stainless steel. These are 5-pin switches designed for mounting straight onto a PCB, but they'll also work with a plate as long as your PCB has the proper holes to allow it. Since these have opaque top housings, LED shine through is very minimal with these switches. That being said, you could use through-hole LEDs that sit on top of the switches, using the hole in the top housing to pass the legs through. Taking a look inside the switch, we see the traditional box design that covers the contact leaf and the small protruding plastic piece that interacts with the stem to actually register a key press when you use the switch. The box design makes these switches IP56 waterproof and dustproof, so I guess they'd be good for you if you're prone to spilling stuff pretty often. If you look super closely, you'll see that there's a small amount of factory lube on the bottom housing and the stem contact point with the rubber nub. Like most factory lube jobs, there's a level of inconsistency in lube on various switches in the pack, and these would probably benefit from lubing them yourself. Speaking of lube, one of the things that caught my attention with these switches is that Kailh describes them as self-lubricating. Maybe I was just being naive, but I was almost expecting some kind of special mechanism inside the switch that helps to distribute and redistribute lube consistently so that the switches have a constantly satisfying feeling to them. If you even look at the product on Kailh's official AliExpress page, you'll see the claim I'm talking about. I did a bit more digging, and unfortunately, this claim seems to be another case of false advertising or stretching the truth. Palm is sometimes described as self-lubricating when two palm pieces make contact with each other due to the very low friction coefficient that this material has. This is known as high lubricity, so calling these switches self-lubricating isn't exactly true in my opinion. That being said, a few sources I read online said that this material can still benefit from lube. Taking a look at the force curve for these switches, we can see that they have a 45 gram operating force and a 55 gram bottom out force. These come in a little lighter than traditional creams, which have a 55 gram operating force and a 70 gram bottom out force. Finally, these switches feature a 2mm actuation distance and a 4mm bottom out distance. Unfortunately, I don't own any regular creams to compare these with, but I did as much digging as I could, and people seem to agree that these are less scratchy stock than creams. Maybe the stem shape helps with that by reducing contact points, or maybe the molds used to create these switches are just a little better. Nobody knows for sure, but I can say in my opinion that these don't feel any more scratchy than the other linears that I own. Spring ping on these is little to none, which might be a result of the factory lube on the bottom housing coming in contact with the spring. Another plus on these switches is that they're pretty consistent in terms of sound and feel right out of the box. As far as I could tell, none of the switches had a distinctly different feel or sound signature, unlike switches such as the Box Mute Jades or the Box Royals. Even though the factory lube job has some inconsistencies between switches, I don't think that makes a big difference because the factory lube itself doesn't make a big difference in the first place. Out of all the aspects of these switches though, I'd say the biggest downside of the box creams is their price. These come in around 70 cents a switch, which definitely isn't cheap. In my opinion, these switches are fine, but the experience using them doesn't quite feel premium enough to match the price. I was able to get 90 of these for just $13.50 US thanks to the Novelkeys Mystery Switch Sale, so I'd say without a doubt they're definitely worth the money at 15 cents a switch. Now that we've gone through the specs and my thoughts on these switches, we'll do a sound test with the box creams and then some comparisons with other linear switches that I own. And there you have it. Hopefully this gave you a good idea of what to expect if you're thinking about picking up these switches. Yes, they're a bit pricey compared to some other great switches that currently exist, but if you're able to get them on sale like I did, then they might be worth a try. This is my only switch that is fully made out of palm, so I'm glad that I had the chance to try them out. If I ever end up with one of those fancy switch break-in machines one day, maybe I'll throw these in there to see if it makes a difference, but for now I'll just keep using them to slowly break them in over time. Thank you to everyone who made it this far in the video, and let me know down in the comments what you think about these switches yourself. If there's something you'd like to see in the future or you think I can do better, definitely let me know. With that being said, make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more of my content, and I will see you all in the next video.